What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Adaptive Leaders Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Sanchez. Today we have a special guest. We get into interesting topics. I promise you, if you sit through this episode, you will have an emotion of there is hope for humanity by the time you are done listening to this episode, because we've got an inventor, a PhD in quantum morphogenetics physics. He's got a myriad of titles and credentials that you're going to experience. Dr. Jere Dugenio.
Are these fields and compared to the scientific community? Do they acknowledge these fields?
Of course, yeah, but just like they'll call them auras, right? They call them energy fields or subtle energy. They use the word subtle because they don't understand scalar energy. Morphogenetic fields are really scalar energy fields,
Sure.
and they wrap around anything physical, like cells, your organ systems. They all have fields around them, scalar fields, orgone fields,
Yep.
that hold the instructions. They hold the template for your heart, for your lungs. Without the instructions in that field, there's no cell, there's no organ, there's nothing, there's no blueprint. It's like an architecture, energy instructions for your whole body or a planet, solar system.
When did Russia start?
I want to say 2015 was when it took a while. So remember, I died in 2000, but it took many, many years for me to understand the information because I just, that high level of, let's say, physics, it wasn't out there I got my PhD in quantum medicine in Hawaii. Then I did online work, online classes, like online, like during the pandemic at Stanford with genetic and genomics to get to understand more about genes and how DNA works. But it took many, many, many years for me to actually put it all together. So I had to really reverse engineer the knowledge that I brought back in order to make sense of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, so quantum morphogenetic physics deals with the ability to influence our DNA through morphogenetic fields.
And so Rasha was incepted, the business was incepted at what date?
2015-ish.
2015-ish.
Yeah. So thank you for bringing it back.
Yeah.
So around 2015, I sketched drawings of the coils and just the actual device. And I brought it to the late Jack Slovak. Jack Slovak was the pioneer, or one of the pioneers, in reverse osmosis water filtration technology. Him and his brother Robert Slovak worked for NASA, CIA, and they actually worked on the Minuteman missile program for NASA. They figured out what wasn't working. Both Slovak brothers were called in. Jack Slovak was also a physicist, quantum physicist, and it was an expert in scalar energy. He was the mentor of Colonel Tom Bearden, the late Colonel Tom Bearden, was the master at scalar energy weaponry for the U.S. military. The late Colonel Tom Bearden. You can look him up.
Yep.
So I went to Jack, and I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Because he's like, Jerry, he goes, well, where did you get these? I'm like, well, I drew these, and this is like, this is something I've been seeing in my dreams, if you will, my sleep. I'm like, it's a device called the Rasha. He's like, I'm like, is this scalar energy, Jack? And he goes, yep.
Wow.
Because remember, Nikola Tesla was the one in 1890, late 1890s, came up with a patent for scalar coils. Flat scalar coil, right? So he has a patent in 1899 or something like that for a flat version. Our coils are like a 3D version, but with base 12 mathematics. It's sick. So if Tesla were alive today, he probably would have created something similar, or probably better, actually, than the Rasha. That's what I say. But so that's how Jack was like, wow, you actually three-dimensionalize Tesla's flat coil. How'd you do that? I'm like, I told him about my near-death experience. That's how I got verification. And then, I looked up on LinkedIn. I need an engineer.
Yeah.
So I found a former systems analyst engineer from NASA.
Yeah.
And he's still currently working for the military in Alabama.
So how did that message go? Like, how did that outreach go?
Well, Scalar Engineer in Reno.
Okay.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And he reached back out.
Yeah,
I'm like, ooh, he's
that was
cool.
fast. Yeah.
It was so synchronistic.
Yes.
Right. And he's still with us till today. I mean, it's been 7.5 years, and then this guy is he's still working on some black projects we can't talk about with me, but he's still it's all handmade too. The Rasha is 100% handmade except for the base, which is it's milled. It's like military aluminum block. It's pretty cool. That's the only thing that's machined.
And how long? So you invented this product. So what was the time of invention till you finally had that like prototype ready to go?
Oh, 1 year. So
okay, wow.
2015, 2016 was like, first I had to find I had to find someone that can make the coil.
Yeah.
There's not many people that can hand wind coil. So I had to go through the whole, I used to speak at the Tesla conference as well. So I went to that and I had to do a little researching. Oh, who can wind coils? I was introduced to the 369 vortex-based mathematics of Marco Rodin, and someone from his camp shared a name with me of a married couple that actually hand wind coils for them. So I'm like, okay. So I reached out to them in New York of all places. And they still wind for me till today, but I've changed the mathematics because Marco Rodin uses a 369 mathematics, which is a finite life, incomplete mathematics. Tesla never said the key to the universe was 369. No. He said that the key to the universe was 36912. They removed the 12 from that formula.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Who's they? Okay.
Whoever you want to, whoever you want to call that actually wants to manipulate and control humanity, right?
Okay.
So why is it ancient cultures used, the base 12, base 60 mathematics, like the Sumerians, the ancient Mayans, the Egyptians, the Dogons, they all used a form of base 12 mathematics. I mean, even in the Apple TV series Foundation, have you heard of that series Foundation? Isaac Asimov's series called The Foundation. It's brilliant, actually. It's on Apple TV.
Okay.
They talk about base 60 mathematics, right? Base, which is a form of base 12. Why weren't we taught that in school? Why are we taught base 10? Right? And I started, asking these questions after my near-death experience. Well, shit, man, the 12 is an organic number. It's the way the ancient cultures used to teach. Well, what if I applied base 12 ratios, algorithms to the Rasha? So that's all I did. And that's why we've gotten the results that we've gotten, because it talks to the DNA.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
and those results that you got, right?
Oh, yeah.
The development prototype, then the next stage was one of the fascinating things that I researched about you or heard about you was autistic. The first.
Yes.
Was that your first like small sample size autistic kids?
Yeah. Dear friends of mine, had an autistic son.
Tense.
Yes.
That's powerful.
At 2.5, he had fevers, 103, 104 fevers, and he became catatonic. Couldn't speak, couldn't talk. I mean, they thought he was deaf. So they came to me and they're like, hey, Jere, do you think that the Rasha can help? I'm like, look, man, they're at their, I don't know if you've come across a lot of autistic parents, but I have. And they're at, they've tried everything to help their children, and they've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in therapies. Nothing worked. So they came to me. They're like, can you try it? I'm like, sure. Right. In like 2 weeks, the son started speaking. making noises. Dada, mama.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, it wasn't an overnight, quick fix miracle. It took 5 years. But that boy is no longer labeled or considered autistic on the spectrum in the state of California. No longer. According to the Autism Treatment Evaluation Checklist, it's called the ATEC scale. That boy is no longer on the spectrum. So I started speaking at the Autism One conference.
Wow.
Okay. Then I spoke in New York, just sharing my findings. Then Grace Hightower De Niro, the ex-wife of Robert De Niro, reached out to me, and she heard me talk at a conference, and she's like, "Hey, Jere, do you think,
right.
the Rasha can help Elliot, our 18-year-old son?" Okay, I went from 2 to an 18-year-old. I'm like, let's try it. And, I can tell you right now, Bob De Niro didn't think it would work. He thought it was full of shit, right? So fair enough.
Well, that's what we're told, right?
Yeah.
It's not possible.
Yeah. So, I let them for 2 weeks. I let them experience the Rasha in New York City. After that, they bought it. And Elliot is, I think, now 22, if I'm not mistaken. Young adult, no longer on the spectrum. Okay?
Wow. And how many kids would you say that you helped that were on the spectrum and they're no longer on the spectrum?
I wish a lot more.
Okay.
Every year we have a foundation called the GC Rivera Foundation. It's my mom's foundation, and we go to the Philippines every year to work on the most poor of the poor, right? The people that can't afford any type of medical or holistic therapies. So every year we go and we treat for 1 week hundreds of special needs kids, right? And people are like, well, yeah, what good can you do in 1 week? Well, we affect the consciousness, right? So the number of kids that we have actually, let's say, upgraded their consciousness has been in the thousands. How many have we reversed on, let's say, paper? I'd say a handful.
That's amazing.
Yeah, handful.
So a handful is more than anyone else, right?
Yeah, and the thing is, I say a handful because I haven't even brought in our Japanese Rasha team.
Okay.
We have a whole entire Japanese research experimental team made up of PhDs, doctors, DOs, dentists in Tokyo for the past 3 years that have taken our technology, worked with the Emoto Research Foundation, and they're doing amazing things over in Japan with our technology, integrating it with what the Emoto Research and other foundations are doing. So I'm sure there are more children that have been reversed, but just on paper, a handful.
That's powerful. That's super powerful. So you created technology, you have actual case studies of reversing autism, which is in the scientific and the FDA, like that. No one would ever say that was possible, right?
Yep.
So you are doing the impossible.
We've already achieved that.
You've already achieved the impossible, which is super powerful. And then your clientele, you had it's like an interesting trajectory or timeline for you, because most inventors and entrepreneurs who create a product or invent a product don't break into affluence or celebrity or anything like you did, right? Who are the most notable people that you have that have the Rasha?
Well,
besides Robert De Niro.
Yeah, so it's Grace Hightower De Niro, Denise Richards, and her husband Aaron Cameron. Let's see, Jenny McCarthy Wahlberg have it. Those are probably can't forget Cindy Crawford.
Yeah, you can't forget Cindy Crawford, the legend.
Yeah, she just came to Vegas not too long ago, and we had a private showing of the Rasha Dome for her and her friends. So yeah, Cindy has it, and I would say probably those are the most famous. Yeah, but yeah.
And is that because of the high price point, the 6-figure? Like, not everybody can pay 6 figures for a product like that, right?
Yeah.
Is that why?
Probably. Yes, I would have to say that.
And then when did the more personal product come into play? When did the device that you talked about, the more handheld product?
Right. So we have a portable. Digital analog player or converter that actually plays our specific base 12 frequencies, and you can play it on a headphone, right? So that's also helpful, and that just came around maybe the last year because it makes it more portable, right? But that digital audio player does not include the Scalar Energy aspect or transmission of our technology, but it does address, or let's say it by far outperforms binaural beats. So if you go online or your phone, you can go on these apps. No offense to those apps because they work, right? Those binaural beats. You know, the military, the U.S. Army did a paper on binaural beats back in 1983, and the efficacy of binaural beats with the gateway system, right, which became the Monroe Institute, right? The U.S. Army was hired by the CIA to create a 28-page report just on binaural beats, right? Very, very effective. Well, I took a look at that. I'm like, wow, imagine what a 12x system would do, meaning we transmit 3 beats in one ear, in the left, 3 in the right, which is 6, and we times 2 it. We multiply it times 2, so it's a 12x, base 12. And the difference between binaural beats and our base 12 is like comparing a bicycle to a spaceship. Both are forms of transportation. Bicycle will take you from point A to point B, you know, linearly, but a spaceship will take you off planet. That's the difference between base 12 frequencies and binaural beats.
And when I'm just thinking about the audience when they're listening to this stuff, right? The Scalar Energy is a little bit more of a fringe concept for them. How would you express the technology, the invention, what you've created, if the audience, let's say the audience had an average reading level of a 7th grader?
Right. So all 7th graders should understand electromagnetism. Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's one thing. Right? Okay. So basic electromagnetism is electric and magnetic. You have light, sound, positive, negative, right? So Scalar Energy is the foundation, or let's say the parent of both. So scalar energy, while electromagnetic energy, electric magnetic are energy. You have electric energy, magnetic energy. Scalar energy is energy plus information and the potential for both. So Nikola Tesla was able to extrapolate or utilize the electrical side of scalar energy, ergo wireless free energy. What we did was we combined the magnetic side or the magnetic vector of scalar energy, which, by the way, is the language of our intron DNA, as per Professor Dr. Konstantin Meil, who is considered, by the way, the German Tesla. Okay. So he's alive, still alive. I've met him. And his research on intron DNA and how the intron DNA, which is, by the way, what science erroneously calls junk, right?
Right.
Sends and transceives information in magnetic scalar energy pathways. And he's published multiple peer-reviewed papers. Okay. So all we did was we took that research and we said, okay, we'll transmit frequency along that pathway, but we'll also utilize the electrical component that Tesla utilized to charge the cells. That's what we did. So we didn't reinvent the wheel, right? We just made a spaceship.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Everyone else is riding a bicycle, and anyone that has Rasha is on a spaceship.
Yeah. So for all of you that really didn't understand scalar energy before, scalar energy is very simple. It's the father or the parent of electromagnetic frequency or energy. That's it.
And so I can't name all of the things that you if it's not apparent as you're speaking, how intelligent you are, your background, how studious you are and everything. I mean, even crossing cultures and studying cultural context is really important, right? Like the German version of Tesla, he's still probably as intelligent or smart as Tesla was, and renowned in Germany.
Yep.
We just don't know about him because we're in America.
Yep.
So cultural context is important. You're cross-cultural, you know what I mean? Like you super high IQ. What are your accolades? What's your credentials? PhD and
PhD in quantum medicine from Hawaii, right? And then I studied online at Stanford, and I'm actually never have I stopped.
Yep.
FYI, okay? I'm a forever student. Anyone that says they know everything is full of shit.
100%.
Okay? So I'm still online at Stanford, right? Taking their genetic and genomics program, and I'm dissecting it. And don't worry, professors, I'm not going to out your research, but they're teaching the CRISPR,
CRISPR
gene
technology.
technology, which is advanced for humans. But when you start dealing with quantum morphogenetic physics, there's no need for CRISPR at gene editing.
Interesting.
When you start to, and forgive me, professors, when you start to delve in manipulating morphogenetic fields, which every DNA, chromosome, cell, atom has, you don't have to splice genes anymore. You just transmit new information into the energy fields around the DNA or cell and allow the DNA, which, by the way, is smarter than any doctor, scientist, research group on the planet, you allow the DNA to actually receive the information and actually transmit it to the rest of the body. That's it. You let the DNA handle the information.
So, I mean, you're taking these super complex topics and simplifying and making them easy to understand.
Look, I died, so I understand what happens after death. I understand. There's no more, the fear of the unknown. No, I understand what's going to happen. I've experienced our true nature of who we really are, and that's energy. We are actual consciousness or energy, right? So having that experience, I'm able to take hard, or let's just say high IQ or highbrow concepts like quantum physics and actually create a new physics called quantum morphogenetic physics and downstep what, let's say, genetic and genomic departments at Stanford are teaching online or in person.
Downstep?
Yeah, I'm downstepping what they are teaching, meaning I'm bringing it down to simpler vocabulary to the public, using certain analogies, certain examples where the layperson can understand, right? You don't need to go to Harvard or MIT or Stanford to understand this, right? Experience is better than everything.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And you keep alluding to the audience to that moment that you passed over or you transitioned, right? Before we get to that, I want to ask you about your childhood, your upbringing. Who are your parents?
Wow. Okay. We're going there.
Let's go.
Okay.
Let's go.
Well, my parents are both medical doctors. My mom is Spanish Filipino. My dad is Filipino. They met in medical school and they did their residency in Coney Island, New York.
Let's go.
So, I'm born and raised in New York. Now, it's interesting. We were talking off camera earlier about a recent interview, or friend that you've acquaintance you've made in the film industry, and I bring that up only because at age 9 I was sexually abused. Okay, for 1 year.
Yep.
Okay, so I was in an all boys school, private school in New Jersey. And for 1 year, several boys and I we were just sexually traumatized by a male teacher. Let's just say.
By a male teacher.
Yes. For 1 year.
I think it's important you talk about that because it's so prominent amongst, I think it's statistically, they say it's 1 in 6 boys or males have been sexually assaulted or had some sort of trauma.
It was about 5 of us. It was crazy. 5 or 6.
Statistically, that's what I'm saying. They can measure that. Yeah. What they can't measure is how many men don't want to come forward.
Yeah.
And so there's another study that reflects that the average adult that comes out that they were sexually abused doesn't come out until they're 52, I believe. So how many people, from childhood till that age just don't disclose that they have been sexually assaulted. So 1 in 6 boys is what we can measure. I think it's important that you talk about it because it'll give people more confidence to be okay talking about it.
Well, Precisely.
Uh-huh.
So I'm abused
Mm-hmm.
from 9 to 10, right? And I was born in the 60s. Don't let the young looks fool you. I'm quite old. For all of my high school, young adult life, late adult life, I didn't know how to handle it. There was no programs.
No.
There was nothing to, who am I going to talk to about that, right? It was only because at 9 or already 10, I complained to my mom, hey, something's hurting down there, Mom. And she's like, what the fuck is going on? So, my mom came in and this, I've forgiven him already at this point, but this predator disappeared. Let's just say, okay? So I didn't know how to deal with it. So what did I turn to? Escapism. I mastered every single addiction humanly possible. Sex, drugs, alcohol, gambling, you name it. For all of my adult life, I sought external means to escape my body. Didn't matter. Till one day, in September of 2000, I was like, I'm done. I just didn't want to live anymore. Just didn't want to be here in physical body, So I went on a 24-hour bender. And I'm sure you've heard in past interviews that I've had that, it was enough drugs to kill several adult males.
Yeah.
So that's how I dealt with that sexual trauma, because there was no programs back then. Only now, only the past few years, the movie that your friend created it's coming out and shining light on that problem, right? But it's a problem, man. Yeah. It's a problem. And, not just in the Catholic Church, but you're talking, high influential government people and celebrities even.
Yeah.
Sorry, but it's the truth. So
I want to talk about that a little bit more, but I do also want to talk about, from that trauma, you speak about that moment, where you overdosed and you were legally dead for minutes, right? But who was that person in adolescence, and what did you always have this curious nature? Were you questioning authority? Where does, because a lot of the topics we talk about in and out of the studio are sometimes fringe topics. We talk about somebody named Wilhelm Reich, who's nobody really knows about him because they meant to, cover his
correct
studies, and they meant to cover up his findings.
Yes,
because they were revolutionary, they were transformative.
Of course,
right. So, where did you always have a curious nature?
I think all children have curious natures.
Right.
I know at a very young age, I always wanted to be an astronaut. I always was curious about death and near-death experience at a very young age. I mean, after being, let's say, sexually traumatized for a year, I chose to. Well, I didn't choose. My mom actually forced me to a public speaking contest.
Oh, interesting.
And I chose the topic of near-death experience. At that young age.
How old were you?
I was already almost 10.
Okay.
So the book by Dr. Raymond Moody just came out. It's a book on near-death experience and experimentations on patients that died. So I've always had that, curiosity of, fringe topics, right? But that consciousness that went through the sexual abuse for a year, that went through all of the addictions, drug abuse, in 2000, that consciousness, let's just say, got upgraded. Okay? Because the consciousness that's speaking to you today is like an upgrade, like a 12.0 version of that previous like a software upgrade, so to speak. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to create the Rasha. I wouldn't be able to understand quantum physics or create a new type of physics called quantum morphogenetic physics. So although that consciousness, experienced that trauma, right? This consciousness, let's just say, is an upgraded version of that consciousness.
Yeah. And so between like let's say 8 teenage years or young adulthood, what were you doing? What were you in sports? Were you getting involved? You know, what is your life look like?
It was sports. I went to a private school in New Jersey, so it was sports. I was a 3-sport type of guy. And I entered pre-med school at Drew University in New Jersey, and I was like, you know what? This is not making any sense to me. No offense to all doctors out there. Just the current Western medical model back then in pre-med school just didn't resonate with me. So I dropped out. I was like, you know what? I dropped out of school, and then I just started to just live a very, very addictive lifestyle. Right? So
that escapism.
Yeah.
And so will you attribute all of the escapism back to the sexual trauma?
1,000%.
1,000%.
Because I didn't know how to do. Look, imagine you're a child and a teacher that you see as an authority figure that you looked up to betrays your trust, violates your free will choice, violates your physical body but at that age, you don't know. You're like, oh, I guess this is normal.
Right.
Right. This is normal.
Right.
So,
and you didn't really have anyone to talk to.
No, I mean, no.
Not even your friends, like the people that you were involved with.
I hid it.
I
suppressed it. Then you suppress that, and then fat chance of you having a relationship later in life because you don't trust people, right? Yeah, my relationships were, let's just say, they were challenging. So.
Right.
Yeah.
And that led you up to that point where you decided, and I don't want to call it like like you're like, I'm going to commit suicide, but essentially that's what it was, right? Like, I'm done.
Yeah,
I'm done.
It was, I wouldn't say suicide because it wasn't despair or lack of hope. It was, I'm done with this physical body. I just don't want to be in anymore. I want to leave. There was no like despair or lack of hope. It was like, or fear. It was like, you know what? I'm done. I don't want to be in physical body anymore. I want to see what else is out there. It was kind of like that.
And okay, so that's a more, I would say that's a more mystical thought. Was that in hindsight or is that in the moment? And if it was in the moment, right, having this more like, I'm going to transition out of this body.
Yeah.
What were you studying before that?
Right. So I wasn't studying anything.
Okay, nothing.
So when I say I was mastering every addiction, I kid you not, orgies, late night, underground, the underground house scene in New York City in the late 90s was absolutely crazy, right? So I mastered, people now, they do ketamine drips for, for wellness, but I mastered the K-holes, right? I mastered.
You're doing the special K.
Oh, yeah. And so that was my school, so to speak, and I was like, you know what? So I've OD'd many times prior to that point where my heart stopped. Okay. So it wasn't just one time I OD'd. I OD'd many times. And that overdose and that experience I was experiencing, like, oh, I'm in a K-hole and I'm watching, physical reality turn into like cartoons or just crazy things, like if you're on acid, right? That propelled me to say, oh wow, there's other realities out there besides physical body. So that was more of what spurred me to say, you know what? I'm just going to do enough drugs so I leave my body and I don't want to come back. And sure as shit, that's what happened. I did my 24-hour bender and I did my last line of coke and I just went, my heart sees, because you can tell everything you're looking at is in three-dimensional motion, right? I'm looking at you or you're nodding your head. But when you die, it's like a Polaroid snaps and it's like a and then your consciousness pops out of your body and you're looking at everything. You're like, you're back. I'm back there. I'm like, I'm dead. But it's the most freeing, most calming thing you'll ever experience. And you're like free. You're like, wow, this is what freedom is like. Oh, and I can still think. You're still conscious when you die.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So I had the whole outer body experience, and I was like, man, this is like, and then yes, it's true. Your life goes really fast in front of you, like your whole entire life in a matter of like a nanosecond flashes, but each frame is like, oh, okay, my son, my family, they're all going to miss me. But you know what? This is a phenomenal, blissed out feeling. And I didn't want to come back. I did not want to come back. And my friend who was, let's say, engaging with those narcotics with me, he was trying to resuscitate me as I was watching from back there, like up like 3 feet to an angle.
Mm-hmm.
And I was watching my body, by the way, start to turn purple, like blue, like because there's no oxygen. I'm like this. And my friend's trying to resuscitate me. The moment I asked, who am I? Because I'm watching my friend try to resuscitate me, my face turning blue. The moment I said, who am I got uploaded to like what I call a cloud. You can call it God. You can call it spirit. You can call it whatever you want to label it.
Mm-hmm.
But I was uploaded to that, let's say, field. And that's when you want to know everything. That's where it is.
Wow.
They say when you die, you know everything, right? There's no secrets when you die. It's true. Because it's all information. Wow. Energy is information.
Mm-hmm.
So
you got an afterlife experience,
yes.
Right? That's extraordinary in its own. I've heard maybe 2 people say that they didn't want to come back to the human experience.
Mm-hmm.
So you're one of 2 of those. But you're the only person that I've heard of or read about that had an afterlife experience
mm-hmm.
and then came back as Nikola Tesla reincarnated.
Well, I wouldn't say that.
I know. You get what I'm saying.
Yeah,
right.
It's funny because he still exists. Just because he was murdered a long, long time ago, he still exists.
Yeah.
So if you ever have friends or family members that have transitioned, they still exist. I mean, sure, they're not in physical body, but I would never say I'm that, because Tesla still exists and he's still relevant in my world because, I can still find him wherever he is, right?
Wow.
He still exists.
Yeah.
So, I would just say I've taken certain pioneers' work like Nikola Tesla, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Wilhelm Reich, like Antoine Priori, like Royal Reich, people like that. I've taken their work, not knowing it, right? And just utilized, a lot of their research after the fact, after putting together the Russia and saying, oh, wow, there are people a lot smarter than me that knew all this. Mm-hmm. Wilhelm Reich understood orgone energy. Oh, wow, that's actually scalar energy. Mm-hmm. Wow, Tesla was talking about this a long, long time ago. Mm-hmm. Wow, base 60, base 12 mathematics. Wow, the ancient Mayans and Sumerians were that's their way of life. Why is our society not knowing this?
Mm-hmm.
It's just crazy.
And I think it's important for the audience to recognize when you're talking, you're not just getting information. You don't have this knowledge as a way to kind of flex your intellect or show off, because you've created and invented products, and those products have case studies and they're experiential. They're out there in the world. Mm-hmm. You're working with the tip of the spear athletes now. You have reversed autism. So I want the audience to really, really hone in on when he's speaking from gaining knowledge, but also using it in real life, taking action. Mm-hmm. Knowledge without action is a vanity. So that there's a bunch of experts in everything, right? But they don't have the experience.
And you hit the nail on the head. If all of you are listening to this, please listen to what this gentleman just said, because you can be taught things, okay? Mm-hmm. You can be taught things all your life. We're taught things all our lives in school, right? But it's not what you learn and what you're taught. It's what have you experienced. Mm-hmm. It's direct experiential knowledge trumps anything that you have been taught in your life, because that direct experiential knowledge or direct cognition is something that you've experienced. That's why I really, when I people ask me, don't you care about writing books
Yeah.
or going out there and getting on panels, talking to other people like the Musks of the world and all the other people? No,
Mm.
I really don't,
Mhm.
because I know what I've experienced. I know that scalar energy exists, right?
Mhm.
I've created a technology that can help unlock pure, eternal human potential. That's it. That's all I really care about, because I know that there is life after Earth, right?
Mhm.
I know that, and I'm not in fear of it. Most high IQ scientists, people that have been very, very successful in life, right? At some point, they're going to be shitting in their pants, because at that point where they're ready to die or they're going to transition, they're not ready for it, man. You know, and I've already experienced it. So what am I really saying? I really don't care what people think of me and what you know they think of the technology. I really don't.
Mhm.
All I know is that at some point, all of these people are going to die. And if you're not prepared, you don't prepare your consciousness, you don't prepare for the greatest journey that you are going to take,
Mhm.
I feel sorry for you.
It's powerful. I like how we keep making that the analogy between the bicycle and the rocket ship, right?
Yeah.
Are there other ways that don't necessarily have, that don't necessarily need these products for people to upgrade their DNA, their genetics, what would you recommend the audience? How do they get an upgrade?
Right. Well, in a perfect world,
Mhm.
you won't need a Russia. That's the first and foremost.
Mhm.
But last time I checked, we don't live in a perfect world. We live in a distorted planet
Mhm.
with a distorted. You can see what's going on in the collective humanity, right?
Mhm.
But one thing I would say to people out there that maybe you can't get to a Russia or you can't experience a Russia, meditate, right? Do something, whether it's meditation, whether it's playing cards, I don't care what it is, that allows you to relax, okay? Because relaxation is the key. Because when you're relaxed, that means your left and right hemispheres of your brain are in harmonization, or what they call hemisync. We call it brain harmonization. But when you're in that relaxed state, I don't care what it is. You want to knit, you want to play cards, you want to watch TV, I don't care. Meditate.
Mhm.
Get into a place or do something that allows you to relax. Like my mother, she likes to play slots,
Okay.
and that helps her relax.
She
I'm
gets
like, okay,
meditate.
mom, if that relaxes you, because
Mhm.
I say, why do you play slots? It relaxes me. Okay, mom. Do something that relaxes your brain. Get to that state where you're relaxed and stress free. That's what the best thing I can say to your listeners is
Mhm.
to do. Do whatever it takes to relax. And that in itself will propel you to greater consciousness evolution, I think, or I believe.
So parasympathetic stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
That
1000%.
Okay. So get into a parasympathetic state, rest and digest, done through meditation, breath work, slots. That's the first time I heard
Yeah.
that. Looking out at scenic, like naturescapes,
Right.
things that'll kind of calm you down. And it's a simple application, but it's very complex because we are all in a chronic state of stress.
Correct. And you hit it also.
Mhm.
Another great point.
Mhm.
Parasympathetic, right? Getting to that state of the body's natural ability to self-heal. Because in parasympathetic, as you know, your body goes into that self-healing mode. And then let's just touch upon breath work, because everyone talks about Wim Hof and all of the other breath work, but no one talks about an eternal life breath, which is a
Mm.
12-pointed breath.
Mm.
No one
Mm-mm.
talks about that.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, that is a breath that, let's say, eternal life human design or eternal life potentiality, that is all they do is apply a 12-point breath. And what is a 12-point breath?
Mhm.
Very simple. You just breathe in 12 directions, right?
Hmm.
Or imagine yourself at the center of a clock, and you breathe from the center in 12 directions, right? 12 directions correlates to 12 DNA strands, 12 dimensions. Okay, so
Mm.
everything I correlate to, whether it's metaphysical or scientific, will unify. So those 12 breaths DNA strands. Oh, but Dr. Jere, we don't have 12 DNA strands. We're only 2 to 3 strand beings. Well, we're 2 to 3 strand that code for protein. But what about the other 98% of the intron DNA that doesn't code for protein? That's not just junk. That when you reconfigure it and you recombine it, comes up to 12 strands of DNA. And don't believe my word. Never believe a word I say. Start doing your due diligence and see that some of the highest level scientists now at Harvard are actually, and MIT and Stanford are saying, yes, there is a 12-strand human DNA potentiality. And it's no longer fringe.
Yeah. I mean, it still might be on the outer scope of people's awareness. But and just to get clarity, like the definition of fringe doesn't mean that it's untrue. It just means that very few people understand it.
Correct.
Yeah, definitely. That's powerful. Can you guide us through a 12 work or 12? What is it called? 12-point breath work?
Yeah, 12-point breath. So you can just, if you want, just close your eyes and just take a moment to just connect to your breath. Breathe through your nostrils.
Am I doing a belly breath or
yes, whatever breath.
Buddha breath, whatever, just whatever you get.
And just do your best to reduce your breathing to about half its normal rate. So as you connect to your breath, I want you to breathe down into the quantum level. Like start to imagine your cells and your atoms, okay? And if you can't visualize, just intend that you are going into the quantum realm and start to breathe in between the spaces of your atoms and your cells and your DNA. So just breathe for a moment in between that quantum space. Now, as you inhale, I want you to visualize as you inhale, you send your intention out 12 spokes of a clock or 12 spokes of a wheel. And as you exhale, you bring back that intention back down those 12 spokes back into your body. So as you inhale, it may feel counterintuitive, but as you inhale, you send out your intention, whether it's self-healing, the ability to materialize things in your life. And as you exhale, that intention comes back down those 12 spokes back into your body. So it's a 12-pointed breathing. And it's more than just breathing. You're actually literally turning on your potential to not just manifest things, but to materialize things in your life. Yep, and that's it.
Where's the center point? Where are they all coming back towards?
Beautiful, beautiful question. Your thymus gland area would be the place I would focus on, or you can do it from your pineal gland, whichever feels more comfortable to you.
That's really cool.
I'm not charging anyone. That's free.
Just put it on my tab.
Yeah, but 12-pointed breath. So for all you Wim Hofers out there, apply 12-pointed breath.
It's funny that Wim Hof has the most notoriety, but there's some powerful breath work.
Of course.
Facilitators out there in their 80s that no one's heard about because they're not on social.
Yeah, right.
It's just like anything, right? Yogis, like Rish, was it the Hindu rishis?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Powerful. So I want to bring all of this together of what we've been talking about so far and start talking about why you're in Salt Lake City, Utah. we are actually here for something super counterintuitive. We're here. You're here for the BKFC fights.
Yes.
This
World
weekend.
Championship fights. Yes. Yep. So
the biggest fight card BKFC has had so far.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right. And there's one fighter on this card who we actually sponsor, the actual Russia Technology sponsors, and that's world championship holder of the 125-pound women's belt, Christine Ferreira.
Beast.
Yes.
She is an athlete of athletes, for sure.
She's the only athlete on the planet right now that has utilized the Russia to enhance her mindset, to enhance her performance. I mean, she was a beast and talented prior, right? All I can say is it's almost, honestly, it's almost not fair.
I love that so much.
No,
I've heard a lot. I've heard a lot about, I think she's been using the product for about 9 weeks now, right?
Correct.
And just different level of everything: cognition, mental cognition, clarity, emotional, physical, spiritual.
You know, it's like what David Goggins talks about. Like when you hit that plateau, when you think you're ready to quit, you have 50% more left in the tank, right? Well, she didn't have to go to Goggins for that. She actually tapped into her own innate potential within her, utilizing the Rasha, because the Rasha really doesn't do anything for you. It just unlocks what you already have, the potentiality that you have stored in your intron DNA. And that's what she did beautifully, mind you, beautifully. And I'm excited to watch her fight. And we're also sponsoring, the Rasha is also sponsoring this BKFC 56 fight. And we want to see what it leads to in the future, because, you know what, look, there are other organizations out there in this industry, but BKFC also, you know, took a chance on us and vice versa. And I'll tell you right now, you know, we're about to redefine the fight game, okay, with this technology. And not just the fight game, the whole entire sports industry.
That's what I was going to say. I was like, why leave it up to the
no
combat sports? Yeah. A lot of athletes. How did that relationship between you and Christine come about? What's the story behind that?
Yeah. So, you know, I was lucky enough to, you know, partner with a Rasha owner. We call Rasha owners guardians. His name is Joe Marshall. And Joe Marshall, he's a former U.S. Olympian in judo. Amazing judo practitioner, by the way. I think the only 8th degree on the locally, I think. So yeah, he introduced us. He knew Christine and started saying, "Hey, we should contact." And he did. He reached out to Christine and Jules Gray, and they came in one day to the gym and they tried it. Because the first thing I'm going to say is, look, man. Yeah, I can tell you that this technology does X, Y, and Z, but until you experience it, it's a whole nother level. So they experienced it, and the rest is, say, history.
Yeah. And so the first time, did she had like a reaction to the first time she did it? Were you there when she used the product?
Yeah, I was there. But you know, that question is better left for her, right? Yeah. You know, because I don't like to speak for other people. But let's just say, you know, she it's not being a believer. She's a knower of what the technology can do. Because, you know, I know, you know, when it comes to these athletes doing weight cuts and that stuff and the grind that they do, man, when you unlock just 1% more of your brain or your consciousness, just think about what she's unlocked the past 8 to 9 weeks, and the visualization, the materialization. I mean, it's next level. It's next level. And any athlete will tell you that, you know, you'll get, all athletes are in great shape or at that level, right?
Right.
Fighters, football players, you know, baseball players, they're all at that elite level physically. It's mental, right? You can either show up or you can just disappear. And I can tell you right now, the whole world at BKFC 56 is going to see Christine Ferreira at another level, and it is exciting, but also if you're an opponent, scary.
Yeah. So your prediction? What's your prediction? First round knockout?
Annihilation.
No.
Annihilation. Because yeah. All right. You have two high level physical combatants, right? But man, it's almost unfair. When I say unfair, when you unlock and Wilhelm Reich understood it, Tesla understood it, they understood the potential of the human DNA. No one talks about Wilhelm Reich and what he did for healing. No one talks about Nikola Tesla and what he's done for healing. They've utilized scalar energy for healing. Christine Ferreira has utilized Tesla, Wilhelm Reich technology to enhance herself. And it's just like, okay, well... And still,
Good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck to her opponent. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's a really powerful. One thing that's I find interesting, right? It's because when I was deep diving your interviews and people that you've talked to in the past, it seems like the spiritual community and these communities that understand more higher level consciousness stuff, they would really resonate with your products and your message.
Yeah.
When did you decide to come into the sports world, and why did you make that decision?
Yeah. First and foremost, because I noticed how, in the special needs in the autism world, that our technology was able to help those that have, let's say, brain injuries or brain, let's say, pathologies, right? TBI, brain concussion, and just things of that nature when it comes to special needs. So I notice a lot of TBIs, concussions in the fight world and sports in general. And, while spiritual and let's just say the higher consciousness individuals would resonate with our technology, the fight world and sports also have consciousness, and I want to elevate that as well. Why not? Redefine the whole entire industry, not just sports, but spa wellness, agriculture, animal, etc., etc. So it just fell into a flow and natural synchronicity with the sports world.
That's amazing. And as far as the growth, you're wanting to help as many athletes or connect with as many athletes in the sports world as possible, or are you focused solely on, let's say, BKFC or combat sports over the next couple of years, and then maybe expanding? What's your goal there?
Yeah, we have a professional golfer by the name of Lee Slattery. He's one of our Russia sponsored athletes, right? So we're not just focused on combat sports, although BKFC is the only organization that actually trusted this technology enough to partner, right? So kudos to David Feldman. But no, we're going to all sports because it's true. Sports influences the world, right? You have little kids looking up to be the next Cristiano Ronaldo or Lionel Messi, right? And sports has that, mastery over the collective consciousness. So if we can help those high elite level athletes, right? Not just their performance, but it's their consciousness and mindset we're looking to actually upgrade and elevate. Well, think about all the millions of children that look up to these, elite performers, right? So I also look at it from that aspect, right? Not just, what can we do to enhance their performance, but it's at some point those elite athletes, how their consciousness will shift and affect. It'll be like a downstep process to the rest of the humanity.
Something that's not like readily like apparent when you at first sight when I meet you. You also have business acumen. Is that something that you learned, or does that come from Joe, or is that coming from?
Well, no, I mean
this experience.
It comes from just my sphere of influence. Yeah.
Okay.
But I didn't go to school for business. No,
Yeah.
I mean it's just there are laws in the universe and laws of the cosmos. And if you base it on a base 12 eternal life principle, then business is just, if you stick to those principles, business is a byproduct. Self-healing is a byproduct, right? Manifestation, materialization are byproducts of applying these base 12 eternal life principles to your life.
Yeah.
So, business is just an offshoot, a byproduct of, or successful business, I should say.
You're right. Right. Yeah. You mentioned a couple of times that this organization, BKFC, took a chance with you or made a smart decision, right, in the grand scheme of things. What was an organization that didn't make that decision with you?
Well, let's just put it this way. A few UFC ago's, I think it was UFC 293 in Sydney, Australia. Alexander Volkov, UFC heavyweight fighter, utilized our technology, the Russia, 5 or 6 times at the Russia International Sports Center in Las Vegas, where he did his fight camp, right? And UFC actually did a 1-minute promo piece on us, right?
Whoa.
For UFC 293, right? So the whole world that was watching that night knew about the Russia. the whole world watched Alexander Volkov talk about the Russia and how it helped him, and he happened to win that night over Tai Tuivasa.
Well,
right?
Yeah.
You would think higher powers that be would jump on a technology that can redefine not just the fight game in combat sports, but sports in general.
Mm-hmm. Didn't happen.
No, it didn't happen. That's cool.
Yeah.
BKFC did.
BKFC did.
So
let's go. And now you're in Salt Lake City.
Yeah.
On this podcast,
Yeah.
getting ready for a huge fight card.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like you're just gaining momentum, and the sky's not even the limit for you guys.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, because when you start to integrate, right,
Mm-hmm.
combat sports with the potential to really unlock the potential, not just to reach those higher elite performance levels, but to recuperate,
Mm-hmm.
to regenerate, to heal. Oh, and let's also upgrade our mindset, our championship mindset. For all of you athletes out there that are on the cusp or have tasted championship, right, level, and you want to reclaim that, unlock it again.
In a perfect world, what would culture look like? What would Russia's impact have on humanity?
You know, that is probably the single most, not just intelligent question I've been asked on an interview,
Mm-hmm.
but the most high consciousness question, because a lot of people seem to skip that question.
Mm.
So kudos to you for asking that. The end game, really, my whole intention with the Russia and where I see it with humanity, right? Because people are like, well, you know, the Russia Dome is a 6-figure thing, and how are you being in service to humanity if it's so expensive?
Mm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thing is, it's the high, let's just say the high CEO level individuals that can afford the Russia, right? And their influence, their downstep influence to their masses and their sphere of influence, which will help. But in the end, I want to own, right, my own satellites and transmit our base 12 frequencies, Russia frequencies, to the satellite, transmit it to the planet for free. That's the end goal.
Wow.
So in order to get there, how much do you think it costs to like own satellites, right?
Yeah.
We can ask
Billions
Musk,
and
right?
billions,
But that's what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
So in the end, I want to gift these frequencies to humanity. That's the end game. And that will, for free, elevate, upgrade the collective consciousness of humanity. And it's not about high vibrations. Before we end.
I was going to ask you about that.
It's not about high vibration. Yeah. So if you're still out there saying, oh man, high vibes, man, your consciousness, you're a high vibe being. No, clearly you don't understand physics, because vibration is what? Energy holding. Okay. Mm-hmm. Energy contraction is vibration. Mm-hmm. When you're high vibratory, that means you're dense. Mm. So when you tell someone you're high vibe, you're telling them you're dense, man. Mm-hmm. It's high oscillation, which is energy expansion.
Wow.
So for all of you out there, you're welcome.
listen, all you spiritual,
yes.
All of you guys.
So the key is to raise the collective consciousness, the oscillation rate, not the vibratory rate. So all of you out there that are speaking this nonsense, this false new age nonsense, please do your due diligence and learn the proper vocabulary.
Yes.
So it's raising the collective consciousness of humanity, but it's raising the oscillation rate. And that's what I aim to do before I leave this planet a second time.
I love that you just said a second time. So Abraham Maslow talks about self-actualization, right? Mm-hmm. And if you do any research on Abraham Maslow, he actually didn't coin that. That was coined afterwards. But self-actualized individual is that oscillating, expansive being, living in purpose, on purpose, and complete flow all the time. What kind of reality could we build? What kind of empires, or what kind of I'm just imagining a world where your energies your technology is being transmitted globally. What would you see a decade after that's happened?
Well, first and foremost, you'd have a civilization that wouldn't be labeled a type 0 civilization, which is a type 0 civilization is a civilization that can't even harness its own consciousness or energy for the benefit of mankind and the planet. So let's say we become a type 12 civilization on the very fact that you start applying base 12 mathematics, base 12 knowledge, base 12 frequencies, unlocking the 12 strand potentiality. That's all what's going to happen if we start transmitting these frequencies, right, to humans. Because look, certain three letter agencies out there, okay, know, okay, that our technology can actually unlock and turn a regular human being into what we call a meta human being. Okay, a meta human being is someone that has actually reclaimed all of their unlocked potentiality, not just self-healing, not just being able to materialize things at will, because it's not about manifestation. Manifestation, you can manifest till the stars burn out, but manifestation simply means you're setting your intention. I want to manifest more money. That means I'm setting the intention to create more money. Does it mean you're going to materialize $1 million physically, or gold for that matter? No. It's the ability to materialize things. That's what happens when you start to unlock your 12-strand potentiality. Okay? So what a world would look like would be a world that is not currently we are experiencing now. There'll be no more wars, no more need to, let's say, the survival for the fittest model, that's gone, right? The need to actually, kill animals and life forms to survive. Because if, I hate to break the news to everyone, but we live in a vampire society. In order to survive, whether it's an electric car that needs electricity to run, or a human being, albeit you're a vegan, you still need to consume energy to survive. So, ergo, this whole entire planet is a vampire planet in order to survive. Nothing on this planet is eternal. We need sustenance to survive. A planet that starts to unlock, or humanity that starts to receive these frequencies through satellites, will be able to unlock that potentiality, so that no longer are we feeding off of other things and other life forms to exist. That would be a great thing. Oh, and then think of all those inventors that were murdered, that were able to take regular water and make a car go, like fuel a car with water, right? You remember that guy?
100%.
So it's a world that we can only fantasize, but it's absolutely doable. So that's why people, when they, Dr. Jere, why are you charging so much money? Well, listen, unless you're going to give me a satellite system. So, hey, anyone out there, how about this? All of you billionaires out there, okay? All of you billionaires, including Musk, you want to do service to humanity? Fair enough. Game on. Allow me access to several satellites that are geopositioned over continents, right? And we'll transmit our base 12 frequencies via your satellites, okay? So that's my challenge to all of you billionaires out there. You want to do service to humanity? Game on. I won't charge another dime for my technology. If I get my hands on a satellite system and I can beam my base 12 frequencies for free to raise the collective consciousness, the oscillation rate of collective consciousness. That's it.
So that's Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk, right, with Starlink?
No, whoever out there. There's billionaires out in India, okay,
really?
that own satellites too.
See, I didn't even know that.
I'm talking about.
I didn't even know that.
Yes. That, you know what? You want to do real service to humanity, spiritual work? Let's do it.
Let's go.
Let's change the planet now, not 100 years from now. Let's do it now.
Man, that is powerful. I'm excited to see what happens. I mean, the first, 8-9 years that you've been with the tech, with these products, the impact you've made so far. I'm excited to see what happens in the next 10 years.
Well, listen, the technology's out there, right? But the mathematics that are utilized, right, to create it, it's free. It's out there, right? So for those, aspiring scientists and engineers that want to take, this technology and other technologies, fringe technologies like Tesla, like Wilhelm Reich, and you want to go to the next level, it's the knowledge is out there. Just apply it, right? And change the world now.
Is there a place, I love what you just said, but my mind immediately went to, is there a centralized place that has Nikola Tesla's research, that has Wilhelm Reich's research? Like, is there an online database that has that?
I host a bioregenesisacademy.org. Okay. It's an online, self-paced, almost you can call it fringe information. Okay.
Right.
That has to do with all of Wilhelm Reich's work, Tesla's work, Reich's work, Antoine Priori's work, and other individuals' work that people have not heard of and that you're not taught in regular Western public or private institutions, educational institutions. Yeah, so it's bioregenesisacademy.org. And that is a place where I've centralized all of this information that we should have been taught base 12, not just base 12 mathematics, mind you, but base 12 principles, base 12, let's say, sacred geometry, right?
Yeah. Sounds like the name of your next book.
Well,
of your new book coming out.
Yes,
in 2024. That's amazing. Well, I know that this isn't going to be the first podcast we have, and I know there's a myriad of topics that we could talk about that would blow people's minds. All right, where can people find you?
TheRasha.com. So it's TheRasha, RASHA.com, which, by the way, stands for Reciprocal Antenna System for Holographic Activation. Everyone wants to know what Rasha stands for, so that's what it means, okay? You can go to TheRasha.com, okay? And then on Instagram, we have Rasha Revolution.
Well, thank you guys for tuning into another episode of the Adaptive Leaders Podcast. This episode was, I didn't even know about it 18 hours ago. But I would say that what he has invented, who he's working with, his life's mission, his purpose to shift humanity and create a better world that we all know is possible. He's in it, he's doing it, and I would say, without a doubt that his work over the next 10 years will revolutionize mankind. So thank you guys for tuning in. If we brought you any value, or if you like this episode, rate, review, share this episode with anyone who you think this would resonate with, and thanks for tuning in. Peace.
Thank you.